What truth hurts the most once you learn it? Write in the comments what you think about this. Enjoy the show. Story 1. Sometimes you're the villain in someone's story for a good reason, and you will never get an opportunity to make amends or show that you've changed. They exit your life in a certain chapter, and that's it. That's where the story ends for them, regarding you. People can forgive, and still need to hold the boundary that they simply cannot be in your life anymore. You could be an entirely different person for the better, and they will never ever know. And you gotta just make peace with that and keep it moving, or it will eat you alive. Knowing that version of myself in active addiction still exists, even if only in someone's mind, is really, really hard. But it also makes me look back at some of the people who have done me harm in the past, who I no longer keep up with, and earnestly hope that they are in a better place in life too, like I am now. So that was transformative, I reckon. Story 2. Closure isn't always granted. You can talk to someone for days, weeks, months, years even, and they could just stop talking to you. Feel like you two are inseparable. There's nothing that you could do to get them to speak to you again if they don't want to. It's an awful feeling. Worst part is, we all do it. Life has this way of getting in the way so it can kick you off your feet, and when you finally get up, you struggle to make those same connections again, so you just don't, rationalized as some sort of self-preservation. Story 3. The truth that hurts the most once you learn it is realizing that everyone you love will eventually leave you, either through death or circumstance. It's a harsh reality to face, but coming to terms with it can help you appreciate the time you have with them even more. It's a painful truth, but it also serves as a reminder to cherish the moments we have with our loved ones. Story 4. There's no conspiracy. There's no evil men twirling their mustaches in the shadows. There's no big money tycoons funding a master plan to take over the world. There's no scientists giggling over a lab over their apocalyptic creation. I'm not saying there aren't evil people in this world. There certainly are. But any attempt to coordinate any long-term evil plan always fails. The only way 3 people can keep a secret is if 2 of them are dead, after all. The simple fact is that at least in Western-style democracies, it's nearly impossible to pull off any sort of secret conspiratorial plan. And it's not that much easier anywhere else. There's just too many ways to be exposed, too many loose ends to tie up, and too many people have to be involved to get anything to work. At most, a small group of people might get away with a short-term thing with a very narrow scope, but even that almost always eventually gets found out. It is comforting to blame bad things happening on hidden actors, but that's just not what happens. Story 5. The vast majority of people don't give a shit about you, your needs, wants, opinions, or well-being. They only care about what you can do for them. If you find somebody who really does truly care about you, never let them go. There is no such thing as unconditional love, and that's actually a good thing. Everybody has a limit to what they'll put up with, and if you cross somebody else's line of what they'll endure, they are justified in cutting you out, just like you'd be justified in cutting out somebody else who crossed your boundaries. If you want to be loved, you have to hold up your end of the bargain. Story 6. As a parent, I worry about the whole Santa thing. I mean, we spend so much time saying things that reinforce honesty. We struggle to protect our kids from predators or feeling desperate and alone if they fall into depression or drug use or whatever else. And right about the time children are about to go through the most drastic changes and the biggest dangers, we say, yeah, I've been lying to you for the last 12 years, but it was for a good thing. I can remember being very hurt by the whole thing. I can't remember if it impacted my trust. By the same token, children only have so long where they just get to be the center of their own universe and truly experience magic and fantasy. So I would hate to rob them of that. I don't know, makes me feel conflicted. Story 7. There's likely nothing that the human race will do that will survive. The sun is going to expand and envelop the Earth in a few billion years. The Milky Way is on a collision course with the Andromeda Galaxy, and although there are not expected to be any collisions of planets or stars, planets and entire solar systems can be flung out of orbit. A rogue comet or a gamma-ray burst will completely sanitize the planet, and a coronal mass ejection from the sun could send us back to the Stone Age. If all that doesn't scare you, then I have 3 words that should. False vacuum decay. Story 8. That no matter what you do or how successful you become, your parents will still be miserable and treat you like a child and will never be happy. I own 22 acres, a 2-story brick home with a pool and my own company. My parents, who live in a dilapidated trailer with tarps on the roof, consider me a failure because it didn't all line up until I was 30. He helped buy some equipment for me in the beginning, around 300 in trailer tires explicitly as a gift. and I was unable to do it alone. Story 9. All things end, yes. Though any time something ends sooner than it should always scales higher in hurt, the more important and sooner. Those you love the most may fall out of your life at any moment. Death is the most permanent. Living losses out of your control can ache for a long while. The more we give of ourselves to those we care for and cherish, the more and longer that hurt feels. Loss, through death or living, hit me and others a lot in the past few years, and it's only going to climb. Story 10 became a nurse, learned that there is no rhyme or reason to death. People think modern medicine can solve everything, or at least most things. Not true. I've had perfectly healthy people fall over dead on their way out the door to go home, and people who should not have been alive walk out of the hospital perfectly fine. When it's not your time, nothing is going to kill you. And when it is your time, nothing we do is going to save you. That two really good people can still not be good together. That foods I love are why I have a weight problem. That no matter how much I love my husband, family, friends, in the end, I am alone in the universe. That Christian nationalists are poised to take over the United States. Story 11. This too shall pass applies to the good times as much as it does the bad times. The origin of the phrase is a parable was about a king sending a young noble out on a fool's errand to find a ring that could both brighten a sad man and humble a happy one. He searched all over the kingdom for months, unable to find it. Defeated and beat down, he heads back to the palace. Along the way, he encounters a merchant jeweler and asks him if he knows anything about this legendary ring. The jeweler says, "Sure, I can get it for you right now." He pulls a boring old gold ring off the shelf and inscribes on it, in Hebrew, Gamze Ya'abor. The young noble, even though he's been through hell and is miserable from this task, looks at the ring and smiles. He takes it to the king, who is reveling in his grace, partying, drinking, enjoying the love of his people. The young man hands him the ring. The king looks at it and reads, "This too shall pass." Realizing suddenly that everything is fleeting, that his wonderful life is in an unstoppable march towards its end, he is instantly and solemnly humbled. Story 12. You will never be satisfied. You will always want more. Once you get your dream car, all of a sudden that guy's Maseratis is faster and flashier. Once you get your dream home, all of a sudden 4 bedrooms ain't shit and you want 5, and a pool too. Once you land your dream job, get a raise, and make $X salary, then it's not long before it's not enough. You will always want more, and nothing will ever satiate you. You will never have enough. Ever. Because no matter what you get, it'll never be enough. Story 13. That a sibling of mine was jealous of me. They were born 8 years earlier than me. I didn't find out until both my parents had died. I nicely sat and told them how our mother loved them loads, and always wondered why he didn't visit very much. My sibling used to bring their partner with them all the time. Mum wanted time just with him now and then. He was too dumb to understand that. It was easier to hate me. Story 14. Oof. People are right on with this one. The people change one so hurtful. After a cheating, gaslighting partner cheated after 15 years, I slowly realized the change. I mourned the loss and slowly moved on, knowing that it was a chapter in my book of life, and it's time for a new one. It doesn't mean that the previous time in my life didn't exist, or that they weren't happy, just that it's different now. That took a lot of hard work with therapy, self-acceptance, and care. Story 15. Most people do not wish each other all the best. Quite the opposite. Yeah, to your face they do. But most humans are jealous and will act accordingly. I found out the hard way, many times. When you finally meet the few who do wish you the very best, grab them like straws and make sure you always stay in touch. Those people will help you out when needed and make sure you achieve your goals. A simple example. When I was young, I stated to some friends I wanted to go to the university and start my law degree. They wished me the very best. But when push came to shove, I found out they said, "He will never make it. He is *fill in your remark *." Another example, when I wanted to start my own company, some friends told me it was never going to happen because I am *, whatever jealous reason *, or they wished me their very best, but were certain I would never make it. And the last example, I'm now financially independent because of my company. I used to get some drinks when in a pub. I would give more than I receive. I do not drink alcohol. But now I do not get those anymore, because I can pay them for myself. What the actual fuck? Nah, most humans are homo homini lupus. Yeah, it hurts a lot. Story 16. Everyone will have different experiences, but in my life, unfortunately, I have found that people I thought I was very close with for many years will just almost suddenly at times just disappear from your life, or turn into someone you can't recognize if a certain type of event happens. This may be friends or family even. I'm in my 50s. When I was younger, I didn't really have this happen, but as I got older, I've had a couple of instances where extremely close friends for many years just changed. Then you find that they are no longer in your life rather quickly. No bad blood or arguments that trigger it. It just seems to happen for no reason. I've talked to other people it's happened to, but then some that it hasn't. So again, it varies depending on who you are, I guess. My best friend of more than 35 years recently passed away. And it was amazing the way you see people change in the inner circle when that happens. People you thought were nice, normal people suddenly become mentally unhinged or just plain bad. And occasional coworker that you were close with suddenly acts like you don't exist, etc. I think maybe that's what I have seen over the years that triggers the biggest change in people, the death of somebody. It's sad because when it happens a couple of times, it changes you. You suddenly start finding yourself wanting but still not seeking new friendships, paranoid that you will invest so much in something new, only to find out years later the person is just going to abandon the friendship or turn bad or whatever. You do become somewhat jaded about people in general. Sorry for the downer answer, but that's been my experience. Fortunately, it doesn't happen to quite everybody. Story 17. The world is bought and owned by the wealthy and powerful, and if you're not prepared to participate in violent revolution, then shut up and stop virtue signaling on social media because it's not gonna do shit. The idea that we can vote our way to a free world is about as naive as believing in Santa Claus. The idea that you're going to participate in some violent upheaval is laughable anyway. Real civil war will never break out in America unless something finally unites the Red Club and Blue Club against a common foe. That and somehow, you are able to raise the collective educational level to actually leave it better than you found it, which is also super unlikely. The more realistic scenario is pockets of unfocused resistance that ends up being quashed before it begins. You think the country that spends more than the GDP of the countries it feigns to protect on the military won't use it on their own civilians? You'd be surprised. Assuming we are speaking of the US here, as most Redditors are. Story 18. Discovering that the ideal time for most things in life is really just a myth. You're not late, you're not early, you're just on your own unique timeline. And that's perfectly okay. A friend and his wife were married but waiting for a better time to have kids. Then one day the light bulb went off for him, and he talked to his wife saying something like, "If we keep waiting for the perfect time, it's never going to arrive. Our parents struggled when we were young and we'll do the same, but in the end we're going to be fine, so we should just go for it now." And this is a comforting truth. As a society, we must stop enforcing a certain timeline on people. It creates so much pressure. For example, once you hit your 30s, some people might ask you if you are planning to have children or get married, etc. Meanwhile, each life has a unique timeline. For instance, I am 31M and recently got cancer. I'm not even thinking of starting a family. This is just an example. Each life has a unique timeline. When I did my master's, I was older than most of my peers. Some of them teased me that I was a grandpa. It bothered me because, like I said, this imposes the view that you should only study when you're in your early 20s and younger. Story 19. Even your best friend and partner can betray you. True. Add to that the fact that there are people who are self-interested and can only take advantage of others. During my university years, when I was doing my BA, I developed a very close friendship with another girl. In the worst shit, she was completely ignorant and didn't help. She started to get better with other people, who were basically not even this girl's style, but she got a lot of help from them. In other words, she used them. Now since then, I'm 2 steps away from everyone I meet for the first time. Story 20. Had a friend who would invite me over to his house to have drinks with his wife and him. We'd get stoned, hang out, have good times. They were broke and needed some cash sometimes for diapers for the kids and this and that, so I'd help them out. He'd help me out sometimes too. Only thing is, I always paid him back. Loaned him $40 one time when he was between jobs. He said he'd pay me back. Texted him a few weeks later to hang out and see what's up with the cash. He never responded. Dude burned me for $40. I'm not even mad, just embarrassed. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Be sure to write comments and share your stories.